Okay, we're back for another game. Okay, who's got the next fantastic game from ChessGames.com? Karpov, Kasparov World Championship Match 1985. This is not the Octopus Night game because I've covered that on YouTube. It's not that game, is it? The Octopus Night game. Is that your favourite game? But is it one I've done on YouTube? 1985. That reminds me of one I might have done on YouTube. Alright, so I'll just get your game reference. I'm going to do something cheeky. I'm just going to get the game number and just plug it in to get the PGN. Okay, I've covered this, and I've done a music version of this, have I? This is the classic Sicilian defense one. Okay, well this is okay. We can go over this. I just want to make sure it is the game. I'm just going to look for the Kasparov Gambit. Yeah, it's the Kasparov Gambit one, of course. Okay, how many of you haven't seen this game? Because I have put it on YouTube probably twice, and there was a musical version. Would anyone like to see it again then? Do you guys know how this game got highlighted to thousands and thousands of British chess players? There's a background to this game. Do you know why it got highlighted? Why would this game get highlighted, do you think? It was an amazing game. Bats for Chess Openings. Bats for Chess Openings. It was a game featured in the preface of Bats for Chess Openings. So it really caught my attention. Raymond Keane wrote, when Kasparov repeated the Gambit, there were a lot of fists slamming on the desks, you know, in the Grandmaster commentary room. A lot of Grandmasters were shocked that Kasparov would play this Gambit. And this was a feature on the front of Bats for Chess Openings, was a very popular opening manual. So it got my attention. And, you know, I originally had it in my drama section, you know, going back years and years ago, on the Barnet Chess Club site, actually. Can I just quickly show you that? I put it in my drama section. I'll just quickly show you. If we go to barnetchessclub.com, drama, you see I have this game here, you see, with the Octopus Knight. So that was on my drama section, this section. So we'll go back. So we'll look at it again. Okay. So Kasparov plays the Sicilian defense, and Karpov doesn't mind, you know, going for a binds, a kind of Maroczy binds. Actually, that's kind of relevant to the Maroczy game we saw. So the Maroczy bind is if White will have pawn on e4 and c4 to try and really prevent Black from playing d5. So we get a situation with this Maroczy bind, you know, named after Maroczy, yeah, here. So we've got the Maroczy bind against d5. You see, the thing is, if Black's never going to be able to play d5, White could build up and up later, and, you know, like ideally place his bishops like here and here, you know, maybe put his queen on d1, put the other rook on c1, put the other one on d1, and get a very nice position with a lot of pressure just building up. Yeah, okay. But Kasparov, you know, he has you know, extremely dynamic, aggressive style, and he really celebrates the dynamism of pieces. So he repeated what a lot of grandmasters thought was a totally outrageous, totally unsound idea. Okay, d5. So it breaks the bind early. We've actually seen a recent Fischer game with Fischer breaking the bind early. If you're going to break the bind, breaking it early is very interesting because, you know, White's pieces. Well, these knights in particular, they need rerouting to the centre ideally. So are they going to be stumbling around the queen side? Okay, that's one question. And what is the actual point of this d5? You know, some of the points, this bishop, you know, can maybe get some squares which are useful for, again, you know, eyeing knight d3, as in this game it showed, for supporting a knight. That's the spectacular part of this game, that actually this knight, when it goes to b4 here, it's going to aim to go to d3. And you'll imagine this bishop's like, you know, defending that, but later actually Karpov did this, and this bishop was not eyeing d3. So bishop e2, you know, a seemingly sensible looking move. Bishop c5. Okay, so now castles. So the bishop moved away from that d3 square. So now we've got the possibility of bishop f5 and a supported knight coming to d3. And look at the white knights, they're still kind of, this one in particular is potentially, you know, a bad knight, a stumbling knight, drunken knight on the side there. So bishop f5. So trying to reinforce this fantastic knight on d3. Bishop g5. So rook e8. And already, you know, there's pressure, of course, and maybe White is a bit worried about playing rook e1 because of this knight going, you know, here and hitting key squares. So queen d2, b5. So this prevents knight c4, which could have been a useful rerouting to hit f5. So this knight's shut out of the game at the moment. Knight d3, and there we have it. So we have this kind of octopus knight on d3 striking out in all directions, as my Barnet page mentioned. So do we need to go on in this game? See, look at all the squares. Look, this one in particular, the rook can't go there. This one can't go there. Okay. Knight b1. So knight stumbled back to b1. h6, trying to break the pin. And he doesn't mind about g5. He's going to break the pin. This knight's also stumbling. Knights on the rim are dim. Okay, you've got two knights sort of virtually on the rim. So rook c8, and look at these blasting rooks. The knight is actually supporting, you know, these c1 and e1 squares. Pause the position. Take in the aesthetics. Yeah. Every piece is dominated. Crotel writes, every piece is dominated. You're right. This knight can't really move like here. This pawn. This knight can't move here or here. These are covered. This bishop hasn't got many squares at all. They're all covered. It can possibly go back to e2. This bishop is a bit stuck. So the rooks are definitely stuck. They can't do this. They're definitely stuck because of this knight. Bishop e2. Bishop e2. I guess bishop e2 is a move. Just about. Or is it? Bishop e2, there might be knight e4, you know. Queen takes. And then something horrible. Shall we investigate bishop e2 if that's actually a move which doesn't lose lots of material? That would be an interesting question here, actually. Bishop e2, because I'm wondering about knight e4. Let's just engine check this position. Actually, I'm wondering about knight e4. Whoa, look at this. 2 point on knight e4, 2 point thing. Queen takes d3. Knight takes g3. So we've got the attack on the queen, and we've got the attack here. And this bishop's protecting that. So we're actually going to win e2. e2's dropping off. Yeah? So in fact, bishop e2 is not possible, is it? Bishop e2, bang, you'd have knight e4 winning. Where would the queen go? If we move the queen here, then there's knight takes g3. So that's out of the question. Even bishop e2 is out of the question. Okay, so anyway, what did Karpov do? He tried to do something. He played b3. G5, just holding the position, getting some more squares maybe highlighted. Maybe he's going to play king g7 and just celebrate his position here. So bishop takes d6, queen takes d6, d5 is now vulnerable. G3, so the idea is to retreat and maybe f4 at some point. So knight d7. The knight can be potentially reinforced. So queen f6 as well was another point. This beautiful diagonal stops actually knight b2 because the knight's now also on b2. So we've got that restriction. This knight's being targeted. a3, a bit of a desperate move to play, but it can be just reinforced with a5. So takes queen a2, bit of a sick move, queen a2. So he's given himself a pigeonhole, the a2 square. It's ridiculous, isn't it? This game does look a bit ridiculous. So d6, trying to get a pin, a temporary pin. If queen takes d6, knight b2, and then there'll be a pin on the knight on d3. So just g4, just restraining a bit these pawns. Restraint instead. Queen d2 again. Just king g7, keeping the torture, keeping the tension. f3. Now notice f3 weakens this diagonal. So in the FIDE handbook, the secret one, you're not supposed to move your f pawn because of this diagonal. So this so this is exploitable now. Takes. He finally takes on d6. Now we get this vicious check. See that diagonal's weakened. Knight f6, and now look, this knight's going to join the other one, because this knight would also be a monster on e4. So rook f4, knight e4. Wow. You see, also there's a back row issue here. If queen takes, rook takes, there's rook c1 check, and that's going to be nasty, as well as other things. Well, we'll see actually. What's the actual refutation? Check first on f2. And if rook takes f2, then there's bishop takes d3, and the rook isn't attacking the queen. So that's a good first move. Takes, and now he can actually just take the queen, which he does. Okay, so he takes the queen. But remember, we still got this potential back row issue as well. So queen e3 takes rook c1, just offering the queen temporarily just to get the rook, get this other one. These bishops, you know, I don't know, it's a total disaster on the back row now. I think it might have been time pressure he carried on. Queen f2, the landing bay equipment is set for rook e1 check. Takes, and now rook e1. crashing through on the back row. He resigns here. So it was quite a spectacular game. So the Kasparov Gambit featured in the preface of Batsford chess openings. That's how so many players got to see the game. But it was, of course, a brilliant game, which is why Raymond King was so fond of it. And it was a World Championship game, a very high-level World Championship game for the Moscow Championship of 1985. But this conception of a sort of pawn sacrifice for getting this huge knight on d3 is very, very interesting. And these stumbling knights for white. Okay, so it's reinforced. That knight's reinforced. This knight's not even let back, even via b2. And this d6, combined. Well, g4 is like provoking this rupture of the diagonal. Later, pretty soon. So he takes that pawn, and now we get this monstrous knight maneuver, another monstrous knight maneuver to the center. It's this mass centralization of the knights, which means white's king just gets fried. Actually, you just have two massive knights like this, and they have so much power that the king's getting the full effect, because the back row is not particularly, it's vulnerable as well. So we get this mass centralization, huge central control, just forcibly like winning material, or a back row disaster. Then the back row disaster. That was a great game. Okay, I'm gonna save that. One of my favourites, of course. Okay, one of my favourite games of all time.